The diner stood on the corner of Maple Street and 3rd Avenue, a modest brick building with worn booths and the constant scent of coffee lingering in the air. Its neon sign flickered slightly at dusk, but inside, the warmth never failed. Locals came for familiarity more than food: truck drivers, office clerks, retirees who liked their eggs the same way every morning. It was a place that didn't ask questions. Every afternoon at exactly 3:40 p.m., the door opened and a boy walked in. His name was Lucas. He was 11 years old, thin to the point of fragility, with tired eyes that didn't match his age. His jacket hung loosely on his shoulders, clearly passed down, and his sneakers were scuffed beyond repair. He never rushed. He never smiled. He never asked for anything. The first day he came in, he stood near the counter, fingers curled into his sleeves, eyes fixed on the floor. When Evelyn, the owner, asked what he'd like, his voice barely carried. "Just water, please." Evelyn had owned the diner for over 20 years. She'd learned to recognize hunger, the quiet kind that didn't beg. Without saying a word, she placed a grilled cheese sandwich and fries in front of him. Lucas stared at the plate as if it were a mistake. "Eat," she said gently, then walked away. He did, slowly, carefully, like someone who had learned not to expect seconds. After that, Lucas came every day, same time, same seat near the end of the counter. Evelyn never charged him. The cook always made sure the sandwich was hot. The waitstaff pretended not to notice. It became an unspoken agreement, woven into the rhythm of the diner. Lucas never wasted food. If there was extra, he wrapped it in a napkin and slipped it into his pocket. His eyes always scanned the room, alert but distant, like he didn't fully belong anywhere. Nearly a year into this routine, a black luxury sedan pulled up outside the diner, drawing curious glances from inside. A man stepped out, dressed in a tailored coat, polished shoes and quiet confidence. He looked out of place, like someone who belonged in boardrooms, not booths. His name was Daniel Carter, a self-made millionaire, known downtown for real estate deals and ruthless negotiations. He entered the diner, seeking nothing more than coffee and a moment of quiet. Daniel sat at the counter, 2 stools away from Lucas. As Evelyn placed a fresh plate in front of the boy, Daniel noticed how Lucas stiffened, how he instinctively leaned closer to his food. There was no entitlement in him, only caution. Daniel watched silently as the boy ate, eyes down, shoulders tense. "She charge you for that?" Daniel asked casually, not unkindly. Lucas froze. No, sir." Evelyn's voice cut in smoothly. "He's taken care of." Daniel nodded, but his attention stayed on the boy. He noticed how Lucas wrapped half the sandwich before finishing, how hunger had taught him to plan beyond the moment. When Daniel paid and stood to leave, he paused beside Evelyn. "How long's he been?" The next afternoon, the bell above the diner door rang at 3:40, just as it always did. Lucas stepped inside, shook the rain from his jacket, and headed toward his usual seat. What he didn't expect was to see the same well-dressed man from the day before, already sitting in a booth near the window, watching him with quiet curiosity. Daniel Carter had arrived early. When Lucas reached the counter, Evelyn placed his plate in front of him as usual, but before he could take a bite, Daniel stood and approached. "Hey," he said calmly, "mind if I sit with you for a minute?" Lucas hesitated, eyes darting toward Evelyn. She gave a small, reassuring nod. Slowly, Lucas slid off the stool and followed Daniel to the booth. They sat across from each other in silence for a moment, the hum of the diner filling the space between them. Daniel ordered a milkshake and asked for one for Lucas, too. The boy tried to refuse, but Daniel smiled. "It's on me." As they drank, Daniel spoke gently, careful not to overwhelm him. He asked about school, about favorite subjects, about what Lucas liked to do when he wasn't studying. Lucas answered in short sentences at first, but as the minutes passed, his guard began to lower. Eventually the truth surfaced, not all at once, but in pieces. Lucas's mother had died 2 years earlier, after a long illness. His father worked long hours at 2 different jobs, sometimes more, but it was never enough. Rent came first, utilities second, food when there was money left. Some nights Lucas went to bed hungry. Some mornings he pretended he wasn't. The diner, Lucas admitted quietly, was the only place where he felt certain he would eat. Daniel listened without interrupting. He didn't flinch or offer empty comfort. He simply absorbed every word, his expression steady, his hands folded on the table. When Lucas finished speaking, Daniel thanked him for trusting him. Then he stood, paid the bill, and left without making promises. That night, Daniel made phone calls, not for publicity, not for recognition. He contacted social workers, education consultants, and a legal team that handled family assistance programs. He asked careful questions. He arranged quiet solutions. Within weeks, Lucas's life began to change. A community program helped stabilize the family's finances. Lucas's father was offered consistent work with reasonable hours. Their apartment was repaired and stocked with groceries. School supplies appeared. Counseling followed. Everything happened discreetly. Without explanations, Lucas felt pressured to understand. Lucas kept coming to the diner, but something about him shifted. His shoulders straightened. His eyes lifted. One afternoon, he brought a folded piece of paper and slid it across the counter to Daniel, who had become a regular visitor. It was a report card. Straight A's. "I did it," Lucas said, his voice steady, proud. Daniel smiled, a genuine smile that carried no ego. "You always could," he said. Years later, Evelyn would hand